Howdy y'all, I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I am obviously here in the garage. We got a little rainstorm going on outside. But today's video is actually a pretty interesting one. Well, especially to me because I actually enjoyed coming up with it. But today's video is about my top 5 most fun baits to catch fish on. But before we get started, let's talk about today's sponsor, Mystery Tackle Box. Mystery Tackle Box, if you've never heard of them, they're a subscription-based service for your monthly tackle needs. So each month you get a box delivered to your front door with a monthly subscription of tackle. This tackle is targeted to the type of fishing that is usually going on that time of year, so you can give you a leg up on kind of what you should be doing during that time of year. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but my father was a huge influence on me getting into fishing. And honestly, if we had something like this, we could have caught a whole lot more fish because, well, we only knew a handful of techniques. We're only able to get our hands on a few different techniques that we actually knew how to use. With the Mystery Tackle Box service, we would have been able to not only learn about each lure, there's usually a pamphlet in here about every lure on how to fish it. If not, there's an email that comes out. You can check that out. There's a little video and on just about every lure in here that you get. And it tells you the technique and the time of year and the place to be fishing these type of lures. But my dad, yeah, he was a huge influence on me getting into fishing, and fishing has been a passion of mine. I'll give you kind of one of the stories. I was back home, we were fishing on his boat, and I was driving it out of this cut, and I rolled over a stump. Okay, we rolled over a stump, and we got out of the way, and we were just fishing, or we're making our way out of this cut. Well, when I made my way out of this cut, you know, you hammer down, you get it out on plane, and then you go on about life, right? Well, I hammered down, and the engine bogged. It was like, and it finally started catching speed, and then we got on plane. It's like, well, that's really, really weird. So we make our way to the next cut. I'm idling on in, and then my dad says, we need to get out of here now. I'm like, what do you mean? He pointed down, and his feet were getting wet. I'm like, uh-oh. Don't know what's going on here. So I got out of the cut, got us back on plane. We actually switched drivers while we're on plane. I don't recommend doing that because I was going to go back the truck in and he was going to try to keep it on plane as long as possible. Didn't really know exactly why we were getting water in at that time, but we knew we needed to try to get it on the trailer as soon as possible. I jump off on the deck going about 20 miles an hour. Don't know how I did that, but I managed somehow. Jump off, I back the trailer in fast as I can. He puts it up and I pull it out. Luckily, we didn't sink a boat that day because when I rolled over the stump, it knocked the plug out of the hole, and we were just taking in water. We're really lucky we didn't sink the boat that day, but after we got the plug back in, we were able to get back to fishing and having a pretty good rest of the day. But, you know, my dad influenced me into getting into fishing. And as memories, I know that's not exactly a great fishing memory, but we had a great time that day, and we still talk about it even to this day. So it's just a great thing that while fishing, my dad made a memory that will last both of our lifetimes. But speaking of that, I kind of got off track there as far as that story goes. But speaking of that, Mystery Tackle Box is a way to feed that way of making memories with your father. And Mystery Tackle Box is doing a fantastic special this upcoming couple of weeks now through Father's Day. I think the 16th is the last day. You can save 15% on your subscription by using the code SAVE15 and then also using the link down below to that website. So if you want to save 15% on your subscription, save 15 and then use the link in my description and you'll be able to save 15% on Mystery Tackle Box subscriptions. So if you're interested in something like that, hey, click down below. Pause the video, go click, and then come back. All right, let's get on with the video. Okay, let's go ahead and get this video started. I'm sorry I had such a long delay there with my story. It's a wonderful story. I enjoy telling that story to everyone. I usually tell it, multiple times a year, and people enjoy it. But as you can tell, I have a lure in my hand. These are going to go from least fun to most fun. And remember, this is all my opinion. So if you want to dispute something, hey, let me know in the comments below, and let me know, hey, that bait shouldn't even been on the top 5. I don't know what you're thinking, James. Get that thing out of here. But my first one, and you guys are probably going to make fun of me for it, is the drop shot. Simple little drop shot here. I got a little shimmer shad. I always want to say shimmy. Shimmer shad here from 10,000 Fish. Little weight, little wacky hook. Hey, and I love this bait. I love catching fish on this bait for 2 reasons. One, you're almost always using a finesse rod, which to me means a spinning rod. That gives any fight, whether it's a 1-pounder or 3-pounder or a 10-pounder, it's going to be really challenging to get that fish in with this. So you're going to have a really good fight on your hands. And that's kind of half the reason why we go fishing, is to enjoy the little battles we have with the little frisky little fish we have. But that is one of the reasons. And the second reason here is because this thing plain catches fish. Year round, it is a finesse technique. Yes, I know it may frustrate you guys, but you could still power fish this pretty good. You're not going to be able to cover water as much as some other baits, but you can fish this guy pretty aggressively on the bottom and snag up several fish in a day. So you're going to be able to catch fish even on the slowest of days, and the ones you do catch, you're going to enjoy the battle. So that's number 5. Let's move on to number 4. All right, number 4, going to be the simple Texas rig. I just have a little bandito bug on here. It does not matter what you put on here. Texas rigs are fun to fish. However you want to fish them, whether they're weightless, weighted, you're dragging the bottom, you're popping the bottom, you're flipping into heavy cover. However you want to fish Texas rigs is a fantastic way. Now, I enjoy fishing Texas rigs. Well, once again, kind of like the drop shot, it's just going to plain catch fish. And I love catching fish out of cover. It's an enjoyable challenge. They're always tight to cover, and I enjoy trying to get them out. Even if it's a heavy flipping rig, trying to get it out of a matted grass, whatever technique you're using as far as the Texas rig goes, you're going to have a good time. You're more than likely going to be bringing up some fish that day, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. Number 5 is going to be the paddle tail swim bait. Well, why the paddle tail swim bait? Well, mainly because it's fun to throw. It's usually really easy to throw, really easy to target and make precise cast. This one happens to have an underspin, but I'm talking about any paddle tail swim bait, whether you have it rigged like this, where the open hook on top, or you have it weedless, Texas rig style. However you fish your paddle tail swim baits, they're generally pretty fun to fish, especially around grass and vegetation, and you have it rigged weedless. But being able to just simply make that perfect cast and then reel it in, and then 3 reels in, you're getting a bite, and you're like, hook set. I like fishing these guys because fish usually, when they bite these guys, they hit them extremely aggressively, and you're going to know when you get a bite. So there's no question about whether or not there's a fish on the other end. The other reason I enjoy fishing these guys is you can fish them at multiple depths. You can fish them high in the water column, mid of the water column, bottom of the water column, where you're just bumping the bottom. All those techniques work with this guy. So more than just the Texas rig and the drop shot, you can fish the entire water column with this guy. You just got to know where they are. Now we're down to our final 2 baits. Now, I had a hard time deciding between the final 2. They're both top water baits, and each one has a different purpose and a different technique you use behind fishing these. But I ended up deciding, mainly because I don't get to fish frogs as much as I would like to. Number 2 is frogs. Whether you're using a walking frog like this one, or you're using a popping frog like this guy, finding some vegetation, finding some cover, and throwing these guys up next to the bank and walking them out during the early morning or late evening hours and seeing this topwater blow up on this little frog here or this frog here. And then you have to be patient, wait a couple seconds to make your hook set. All that stuff's really challenging. And then usually these fish that are biting, they're dig down deep in that cover, and you got to find a way to get them out. You enjoy the little battle that you have with each and every fish, including the hook sets, because if you don't do a good hook set or a proper hook set, well, you don't catch the fish on the frog. So every bit of this is challenging, but it's also a great way to see these fish blow up. And who doesn't love a solid topwater bite? So that's exactly why frogs made number 2 on my list. I don't get to do it as quite often because, well, most of the lakes I fished have pretty steep banks, so it's not super effective. You really need to find more shallower flat banks that are coming off that have good vegetation to fish these guys. My most fun bait to catch fish on is a topwater bait called the plopper. This is the revolver, from the Guggen squad, and this is a big old whopper plopper. Both of these baits are extremely effective, and they come in multitude of sizes, multitude of brands, and you cover a lot of water. You can make strong, accurate casts with either one of these, regardless of the size. Throw up next to some cover, a tree branch, however you want to do it. Pull that sucker out, and that fish is going to be following behind it. They can't get a good view of it. They just view it as a dying fish, and boom, they blow up on it. And with all these treble hooks, there's like absolutely no way you don't snag up that fat Sally. I've caught so many fish on plopper baits, it is absolutely ridiculous. These are my favorite topwater baits to use. They're easy, they're simple. You throw them right down parallel to the bank and you can bring them in and you're just gonna get a blow up. It seems like every time I throw one of these, especially in the summertime. And who doesn't love a huge blow up? Now, you don't get the challenge typically of trying to pull these fish out of cover because you're not going to be throwing it deep in the cover with all these treble hooks, but you're going to catch a lot of fish because it brings a lot of tension to these baits and you're going to get a lot of blow ups. And with treble hooks, there's absolutely no way that you don't catch a bunch of fish on these. So if you've never fished a plopper bait, definitely pick one up. I don't care the brand. It can be the revolver, it can be a whopper plopper, it can be some other brand. Pick you one of these up, throw it around vegetation that's not matted or anything, submerged vegetation, around some stick-ups, around laydowns, and you're gonna catch some fish and you're gonna have one heck of a good time. That's why it's my number 1 bait. Is I usually have really good success with this bait, and I also get to see those topwater blow ups still. Before we wrap up this video, let me know in the comments below your top 5 most fun baits to catch fish on, and let me know what you think about my top 5. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and that notification bell so you'll be notified about all my new posts, new videos, and all the great stuff that I'm putting out there for you guys. We're a growing channel. We've recently been sponsored by Catchco, so we're obviously doing the right things on Clearwater fishing. So y'all make sure you just hang around and join me for the growth spurt we're about to see. But just like always, until next time, get out there and go catch you some fish.